The billionaire CEO's secret night with Maid turns into triplet pregnancy and an unexpected marriage. The delivery room was chaos. Sophia gripped the hospital bed rails until her knuckles turned white, her face drenched in sweat as another contraction ripped through her body. 3 monitors beeped frantically around her, 3 heartbeats that weren't her own. The nurses moved with practiced urgency, but their eyes kept darting to the door, to the forms on the clipboard. No father's name, no emergency contact except her mother, who was too sick to even be here. "Push, Sophia, you're almost there," the doctor urged, but Sophia could barely hear her over the sound of her own panic. 3 babies. She was about to deliver 3 babies alone with $17 in her bank account and no idea how she'd even afford formula. Then the door burst open with such force it slammed against the wall. Damien Cross stood there in a $10,000 tuxedo, bow tie hanging loose, breathing hard like he'd run up 20 flights of stairs. His dark eyes wild, searching, until they locked on her. "Those are my children," he announced to the room, his voice cutting through everything. "And she's about to be my wife." Sophia's eyes went wide with shock. She hadn't seen him in 8 months, hadn't heard a word since that night. And now, the first baby's cry pierced the air. 8 months earlier, none of this seemed possible. Before we dive into this story, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our emotional stories. It was the kind of storm that made rich people nervous and poor people pray. Rain hammered against the windows of the Cross mansion like it was trying to break in. Sofia Rodriguez pushed her cleaning cart down the marble hallway, every squeak of its wheels echoing in the empty corridors. 10 p.m. She should have been home hours ago, but the agency paid double for overtime, and her mother's medication wasn't getting any cheaper. She'd been cleaning Damien Cross's mansion for 6 weeks, and in all that time she'd seen him exactly twice, both times from a distance. Both times he'd looked right through her like she was part of the furniture, which was fine by her. Men like Damien Cross didn't see women like her. They saw uniforms, they saw functions, maid, cook, driver, not people. Thunder crashed overhead as she entered the main living room, 40-foot ceilings, windows that cost more than her entire apartment building, and a chandelier that looked like frozen tears. She began dusting the mahogany bookshelf, each book spine worth more than she'd make in a month. Then she heard it. The front door slamming so hard the chandelier actually swayed. Footsteps, heavy, uneven. She froze, dust cloth in hand. Mr. Cross wasn't supposed to be home tonight. He was in Tokyo, or London, or wherever billionaires went to make more billions. But there he was, standing in the doorway of the living room. His usually perfect suit was soaked through, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, and his eyes, God, his eyes looked like someone had died. He didn't seem to notice her at first, just walked to the bar and poured himself something amber and expensive. His hands were shaking, actually shaking. She'd cleaned up after enough broken men to recognize one when she saw him. She should leave, should grab her cart and disappear like the invisible help she was supposed to be. But something made her stay. Maybe it was the way his shoulders slumped. Maybe it was the way he gripped that glass, like it was the only thing keeping him upright. "Sir?" Her voice came out barely a whisper. Do you need anything?" His head snapped up, those dark eyes focusing on her for the first time. Really focusing. Not looking through her, but at her. "You're still here," he said, his voice rough. "I was just finishing up. I'll go." The Kurosawa deal fell through. The words came out of nowhere, like he needed to tell someone, anyone, even the maid. 20 years of building relationships, 20 years of perfect execution, gone, because I trusted the wrong person. Sophia didn't know what the Kurosawa deal was, didn't know anything about his business except that it made him rich enough to have a house with 7 bathrooms for 1 person. But she knew pain when she heard it. "I'm sorry," she said simply. He laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "You're sorry. The maid is sorry." He took another drink. "You know what everyone else said? You'll bounce back. It's just business. There'll be other deals." He looked at her again. "But you're sorry." "Loss is loss," Sophia said quietly. Doesn't matter if it's a business deal or... She stopped herself. Or what? She shouldn't. She really shouldn't. But something about the storm, about the strange electricity in the air, made her brave, or stupid. Or a father, she finished. Lost mine last year. Everyone said the same things. He's in a better place. At least he's not suffering. But sometimes you don't want wisdom. You just want someone to say they're sorry. The room went quiet except for the rain. Damien set down his glass and really looked at her. Not the uniform. Her. What's your name? Sophia. Sophia. He said it like he was tasting it. I'm Damien. I know who you are, Mr. Cross. No, he said, stepping closer. Tonight, I'm just Damien, the man who lost everything that mattered to him in one phone call. She should have stepped back, should have maintained the professional distance that separated people like them. But she didn't, because in that moment, he wasn't a billionaire. He was just a man in a wet suit with rain in his hair and loss in his eyes. Would you, he started, then stopped. Would you stay just for a while? I don't want to be alone right now. Every rational part of her brain screamed no. This was inappropriate, dangerous, career-ending. But the human part, the part that recognized loneliness in another person, won. Okay, she said. They sat on that obscenely expensive couch, him still in his wet suit, her still in her uniform. He talked about the deal, but really about more than that. About his father who'd built the company from nothing. About the pressure of being the son who had to be perfect. About how every relationship in his life was transactional. Even the women, he said, staring at the fireplace, especially the women. They see the account balance, not the man. They kiss the wallet, not the mouth. Sophia knew she should be offended on behalf of womankind. But honestly, she'd met those women. They came to his parties that she cleaned up after. All of them beautiful, all of them calculating. Must be lonely, she said. Says the woman working at 10 p.m. on a Thursday. That's different. I'm alone by circumstance. You're alone by choice. He turned to look at her, really studying her face. You're not what I expected. Maids usually aren't. No, I mean, you're real. It was such a strange thing to say, but somehow she understood. In his world of pretense and performance, she was probably the first person in years who had nothing to gain from him. The storm got worse, the lights flickered, and somehow she found herself telling him about her life too, about her mother's illness, about working 3 jobs to pay for treatments that might not even work, about her dream of being a teacher before life got in the way. Life has a way of doing that, he said, getting in the way. Their eyes met, held. The air between them changed, became charged with something that had nothing to do with the storm outside. I should go, she whispered. You should, he agreed. Neither of them moved. What happened next wasn't planned, wasn't calculated. It was just 2 lonely people finding comfort in the middle of a storm. His kiss tasted like expensive whiskey and desperation. Her hands shook as they touched his face. They didn't make it to his bedroom. Right there on that couch that cost more than her annual salary, they found each other, or lost themselves. She wasn't sure which. It wasn't rough. It wasn't passionate in the way movies show passion. It was gentle, desperate. 2 people holding onto each other like they might drown if they let go. Afterward, they lay there in the dark, the storm finally passing. His arms around her, her head on his chest. Both of them knowing this was a mistake, both of them unable to call it that. This can't happen again, he said quietly. I know. You'll have to quit. I know. He pulled her closer, but not tonight. Not tonight. She left before dawn. He was still asleep, or pretending to be. On the table was an envelope with her name on it. Inside, $5,000 cash. She left it there. She wasn't a prostitute. What happened between them, whatever it was, wasn't a transaction. She typed her resignation letter in the parking lot and submitted it through the agency's app. That should have been the end of it. Have you ever had a moment that changed everything? One night that redirected your entire life? Let me know in the comments below. 3 weeks later, Sophia stood in the bathroom of her mother's apartment, staring at a plastic stick that was about to ruin her life. 2 pink lines, clear as day. Her period was never late, never. She was on the pill, for God's sake, but antibiotics for a sinus infection, the doctor would later explain, can interfere with birth control. A 1 in 100 chance. She took 4 more tests, different brands, all positive. The clinic confirmed it a week later, but that wasn't even the biggest shock. "I'm seeing 3 distinct heartbeats," the ultrasound technician said, her eyes wide. "You're having triplets." Sophia actually laughed. It came out hysterical, almost manic. "That's not possible. It's rare, especially spontaneous triplets, but it happens. See here? Baby A, baby B, and baby C. 3 babies. 3. She couldn't afford 1 baby, and God or the universe or random genetic chance had decided to give her 3. She threw up in the clinic bathroom, then sat on the floor and cried until a nurse knocked to ask if she was okay. She wasn't okay. She was 24 years old, unemployed, with a sick mother and $1,700 in savings, and pregnant with triplets from a one-night stand with a billionaire who'd made it clear he never wanted to see her again. The next months were hell. Morning sickness that lasted all day, exhaustion that made her bones ache. Her mother, bless her, thought Sophia had caught some kind of flu that wouldn't go away. She hid the pregnancy under baggy sweaters, but she was starting to show. With triplets, there was only so long she could hide. She got a job at a grocery store, then a second job doing data entry from home. Every penny went to her mother's medications or into a savings account she labeled Baby Fund, even though it was a joke. At the rate she was saving, she'd have enough for maybe a week of diapers. She Googled Damien once. Just once. He was on the cover of Fortune magazine. The comeback king, they called him. He'd recovered from the Kurosawa disaster and closed 3 major deals in Asia. He looked good, powerful, put together, nothing like the broken man from that night. She didn't Google him again. By month 5, she couldn't hide it anymore. Her mother cried when she found out, not angry tears, sad ones. "Sophia, baby, how are you going to manage?" "I'll figure it out, Mom. I always do." The father? Not in the picture. Her mother didn't push. In their neighborhood, fathers not being in the picture was more common than not. The grocery store let her go when she couldn't lift the boxes anymore. The data entry barely paid enough for utilities. She applied for government assistance, food stamps, Medicaid, swallowed her pride and stood in line at the food bank on Tuesdays. She was at one of those food banks when fate intervened. Or maybe it was just bad luck dressed up as fate. Sophia Rodriguez." She turned to see Michael Chen, one of the other cleaning staff from the Cross Mansion. Her heart dropped. "Oh my God, it is you. Girl, you disappeared. We all wondered what happened." She tried to turn away, but he'd already seen her belly, huge now at 6 months with triplets. "Damn, you're pregnant. Is that why you left?" "Something like that," she mumbled, grabbing her box of canned goods. Michael wasn't a bad guy, but he was a gossip. By the next day, everyone at the cleaning agency would know, and eventually, somehow, it would get back to Damien. She knew it, like she knew the sun would rise. She was right. 2 weeks later, she was lying on the couch, feet swollen to twice their size, when someone pounded on the door. Not knocked, pounded. "Sophia, open this door. I know you're in there." That voice, deep, angry, familiar. Damien. She considered not answering, but he'd just keep pounding and Mrs. Chen next door would call the cops. She opened the door and time stopped. He looked exactly the same. Expensive suit, perfect hair, except his eyes. His eyes were wild. His gaze went straight to her belly. She watched the color drain from his face. "How far along?" 6.5 months. He did the math. She saw the moment it clicked. The storm. And you didn't think I should know?" His voice was deadly quiet, the kind of quiet that comes before an explosion. "You made it clear. I made it clear. I made it clear! Now he was shouting. You're carrying my child, and you didn't think... Children. What? Children. Plural, it's triplets. If she hadn't been so terrified, the look on his face would have been funny. He actually staggered, had to put a hand on the doorframe. Triplets. Yes. 3 babies. That's what triplets means. He pushed past her into the apartment, took in the water-stained ceiling, the threadbare furniture, the stack of overdue bills on the coffee table. His jaw clenched. You're living like this, pregnant with my children, and you didn't tell me. What was I supposed to say? Hey, remember that night you wanted to forget? Well, surprise. Yes, that's exactly what you should have said. You left money on the table like I was a... I left money because I thought... I don't know what I thought. I was trying to help. I didn't need your help. He laughed, but it wasn't funny. Really? Look around, Sophia. Look at yourself. You're about to have 3 babies in an apartment with mold on the ceiling. It's not mold, it's water damage. That's not the point. He ran his hands through his perfect hair, messing it up. The point is, you're carrying my children, my blood, my responsibility. They're not your responsibility, they're mine. The hell they are. He pulled out his phone, started making calls. James, clear my schedule for the rest of the day. No, everything. I don't care about the Tokyo meeting. Sophia watched, stunned, as he systematically took control, called his lawyer, his accountant, his assistant. Stop, she said. Just stop. You can't just walk in here and... Watch me. He turned to her, and for a moment she saw something beyond the anger. Fear. You're moving in with me tonight. Like hell I am. Sophia, be reasonable. Reasonable? You want me to be reasonable? You haven't spoken to me in 6 months and now you want to play daddy? I want to take care of my children. And what about me? Am I just the incubator? That stopped him. He looked at her, really looked at her, saw the exhaustion, the fear, the pride that was the only thing holding her together. No, he said more quietly. You're the mother of my children, and that means something to me. What does it mean exactly? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, it means we're getting married. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Sophia laughed, actually laughed. You're insane. I'm practical. You need help, medical care, financial support. I need to know my children are safe and provided for. Marriage solves both problems. Marriage isn't a business contract, isn't it? 2 people agreeing to share resources and responsibilities. What about love? Love is a luxury neither of us can afford right now. It was the coldest proposal in the history of proposals, and somehow that made it honest. If you were in Sophia's position, what would you do? Comment below and let me know your thoughts. She wanted to say no. Every feminist bone in her body screamed no. But then one of the babies kicked, hard, right into her ribs. A reminder that this wasn't just about her anymore. I have conditions, she heard herself say. Name them. I keep working. I'm not going to be some kept woman. You're 6 months pregnant with triplets. After they're born, I want to work. Fine. What else? My mother gets the best care, whatever she needs. Done. And we have separate bedrooms. Something flickered in his eyes. If that's what you want. It is. Then we have a deal? She looked around the apartment, at the overdue bills, at her swollen feet, at the future that was rushing toward her like a freight train. Then she looked at him, the father of her children, the stranger she'd made 3 lives with. We have a deal. The wedding happened a week later. No white dress, no flowers, just a courthouse, a judge, and 2 witnesses pulled from his legal team. She wore a stretchy black dress that barely fit over her belly. He wore a suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. Do you take this woman? The judge asked. I do. Do you take this man? Sophia hesitated, just for a second, long enough for Damien to look at her with something that might have been panic. I do. And just like that, she went from Sophia Rodriguez, struggling maid, to Sophia Cross, billionaire's wife. The penthouse was like something out of a magazine, floor-to-ceiling windows, a kitchen with appliances she didn't even recognize, and true to his word, separate bedrooms at opposite ends of the apartment. "The decorator will come tomorrow," Damien said, showing her around. "For the nursery. Get whatever you want, whatever you need." "Damien, the staff will be here in the morning. Housekeeper, cook, whatever you need." "Damien, I've already called the best obstetrician in the city. You have an appointment—" "Damien!" He stopped. "I don't need all this." "Yes, you do. You're having triplets. You need help. What I need is for you to stop treating me like a problem to be solved." He blinked. "I'm not—" "You are. You're throwing money at this situation like that's going to fix everything. Money fixes a lot of things, but not everything." They stood there, in that beautiful, sterile penthouse, two strangers bound by law and DNA. "What do you want from me, Sophia?" It was a real question, maybe the first real thing he'd said since showing up at her door. "I don't know," she admitted. "I didn't plan this any more than you did. But here we are. Here we are." That night she lay in her new bedroom, bigger than her entire old apartment, and felt the babies move. 3 little lives doing somersaults in her belly. A soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in." Damien stood in the doorway looking oddly uncertain. He'd changed out of his suit into jeans and a t-shirt. It made him look younger, more like the vulnerable man from that night. "I wanted to— Can I?" He gestured toward her belly. She nodded, and he sat on the edge of the bed, placing his hand carefully on her stomach. One of the babies kicked immediately, right against his palm. His eyes widened. "Was that—" "Baby B. She's the most active." "She. 2 girls, 1 boy. Found out at the last ultrasound." His hand stayed on her belly, feeling the movements. "I missed so much already. You didn't know. Because you didn't tell me. Would it have mattered, really?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. I'd like to think yes, but I wasn't a good man that night, Sophia. I was selfish, weak. You were human. Is that what you call it?" Another kick, this one from baby C. "They're strong," he said softly. "They get that from their mom." He looked at her then, really looked at her. "I'm sorry. For that night. For the money. For not being better. We both made choices that night. You didn't choose this." He gestured to her belly. "No, but I'm choosing them. Every day I'm choosing them. And I'm choosing them too. I want you to know that. This marriage, it might have started as a transaction. But these babies, they're not a transaction to me. It wasn't a declaration of love. It wasn't even a promise of friendship. But it was something. A starting point." The next weeks fell into a strange rhythm. Damien left early for work, came home late, but he never missed a doctor's appointment. He sat through birthing classes with a serious expression, taking notes like he was preparing for a board meeting. He read every pregnancy book on the market, then cornered the obstetrician with questions about statistical outcomes and risk factors. "You're terrifying the doctor," Sophia told him after one particularly intense appointment. "I'm being thorough." You asked her about the ambient temperature of the delivery room and its effect on newborn stress responses. It's a valid concern. It's insane. But she was secretly touched. He might not love her, but he was already fiercely protective of their children. Her mother moved into a beautiful assisted living facility, all expenses paid. She cried when Sophia told her, "This man, he's good to you. He's trying. That's more than your father ever did." It was true. Her father had left before she was born. Never even trying was worse than trying imperfectly. Have you ever found yourself in a situation you never expected but had to make work? Share your story in the comments. At 32 weeks, the complications started. She woke up in the middle of the night with cramping. Damien drove her to the hospital like a madman, running red lights, his face pale. "It's too early," she kept saying. "They're too small." "They're going to be fine," he said, but his hands were shaking on the wheel. The doctors stopped the labor, put her on bed rest. Complete bed rest. No getting up except for the bathroom. Damien moved his office home, set up his computer where she could see him from the bed, took calls while bringing her water, soup, whatever she needed. "You don't have to do this," she said one afternoon, watching him juggle a conference call while adjusting her pillows. He muted the phone. "Yes, I do." "Why?" "Because you're my wife." "On paper." "You're my wife," he repeated, and went back to his call. She watched him work, watched the way he commanded respect, even in jeans and bare feet. Watched the way he'd glance at her every few minutes, checking, making sure she was okay. Somewhere along the way, she'd stopped seeing him as the cold billionaire who'd left money on the table. He'd become Damien. Just Damien. At 35 weeks, her water broke. It was chaos. Damien forgot how to speak in complete sentences. "Hospital, now, bag, where's the bag? Keys, where are my keys?" "Damien, breathe." "Don't tell me to breathe. You breathe. Do the breathing thing we learned." By the time they got to the hospital, she was laughing through the contractions. "You're worse than me." "I'm not good with this." "With what?" "Things I can't control." The labor was long. 18 hours of Damien pacing, holding her hand, arguing with nurses about ice chips and fetal monitoring. "Sir, you need to calm down," one nurse finally snapped. "Don't tell me to calm down. She's in pain. She's in labor. Pain is part of it. Can't you give her something?" "Damien," Sophia said through gritted teeth. "Shut up." He shut up. When baby A finally arrived, the boy, Damien went completely silent. The baby was small, maybe 4 pounds, but screaming loud enough to wake the dead. "Do you want to hold him?" the nurse asked. Damien looked terrified. What if I drop him?" "You won't." He took the baby with shaking hands, holding him like he was made of spun glass. The look on his face, Sophia had never seen anything like it. Wonder, terror, love, all mixed together. Baby B came 10 minutes later, then baby C, all small but healthy, all perfect. "We did it," Sophia whispered, exhausted. "You did it," Damien corrected. "You're amazing." It was the first time he'd complimented her since the wedding. They named them Thomas, Lily, and Rose, simple names for complicated beginnings. The first night home was a disaster. 3 babies crying in shifts, neither of them knowing what they were doing despite all the books and classes. At 3 a.m., Sophia found Damien in the nursery, a baby in each arm, the third in a bouncer he was rocking with his foot, looking completely overwhelmed. "Need help?" "I'm a CEO of a Fortune 500 company," he said. "I negotiate billion-dollar deals. I've fired entire boards, and I'm being defeated by 10 pounds of babies." She took Lily from him. "They're tough negotiators." The toughest. They stood there, each holding a baby, the third finally quiet in the bouncer. "Thank you," Damien said suddenly. "For what?" "For not giving up. For choosing them. For letting me be part of this. They're your children, too. But you could have shut me out. Legally, financially, you didn't need me." "Everyone needs someone," Sophia said quietly. He looked at her in the soft light of the nursery. "Even you. Especially me." Something shifted between them in that moment. Not love, not yet, but possibility. The days blurred together, feeding, changing, sleeping in 20-minute increments. Damien hired a night nurse, but he still got up for the 2 a.m. feeding. Sophia would find him passed out in the rocking chair, a baby on his chest, both of them snoring. He was different with the babies, soft, unguarded. He sang to them, badly, and read them stock reports when he ran out of children's books. He panicked over every cough, every sniffle, called the pediatrician so often they assigned him his own nurse line. "You're going to turn them into hypochondriacs," Sophia told him. "I'm being cautious." Thomas sneezed, and you took his temperature 4 times. "Sneezing can be a sign of—" "Damien." I know, I just—" He paused. "I can't lose them." The raw fear in his voice made her reach for his hand. "You won't." He squeezed her fingers. "How do you know?" Because you won't let anything happen to them. And neither will I. 3 months passed. The babies grew, started smiling. Thomas first, then the girls. Damien documented everything obsessively. First smile, first laugh, first time they grabbed his finger. Sophia healed, started feeling like herself again, not just a milk production facility. She even started jogging again, leaving Damien with all 3 babies for an hour each morning. The first time she came back to find him covered in spit-up, all 3 babies crying, looking ready to cry himself, she laughed so hard she pulled a muscle. "It's not funny," he said. "It's hilarious. They coordinated. I swear they coordinated their meltdowns. Welcome to parenthood. I'm calling for backup." "No, you're not. You're going to figure it out. Just like I did." And he did. Slowly, imperfectly, but he figured it out. One evening, when the babies were 4 months old, Sophia found him in the living room with all 3 of them on a playmat. He was lying on his stomach, making faces, completely undignified. "The board would die if they saw you right now," she said. He looked up, grinning. "Let them. Rose just laughed at my impression of a duck. That was supposed to be a duck. Don't start." She sat beside him on the floor. Lily immediately reached for her hair. "She knows her mama," Damien said softly. "They know you too. Thomas calms down faster for you than anyone." "Really? Really?" They sat there, surrounded by babies and toys, and for a moment it felt like a real family. Not a transaction, not an arrangement. A family. If this story is touching your heart, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more emotional journeys like this one. That night, after the babies were asleep, Sophia found Damien on the terrace, looking out at the city lights. "Couldn't sleep." He shook his head. "Thinking. About how wrong I was." She sat beside him. "About what?" "That night, when I said love was a luxury we couldn't afford." Her heart skipped. "Damien, I watch you with them, the way you love them, fierce and gentle at the same time, and I realize love isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's what makes all of this bearable." "All of what?" "The sleepless nights, the constant worry, the fear that we're doing everything wrong." "We're not doing everything wrong." "How do you know?" "Because they're happy, they're healthy, they're loved." "Are they?" He turned to her. "Are they loved?" "You know they are." "By both of us?" "Yes." "What about—" He stopped, started again. "What about between us?" The question hung in the air. "I don't know," Sophia said honestly. "We started backwards, baby first, marriage second, getting to know each other third." "But we are getting to know each other." "We are." "And?" She looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd gone from stranger to husband to father of her children to— "What?" "And I like who I'm getting to know," she said. He smiled, a real smile, not his CEO smile or his public smile. "Yeah?" "Yeah, even if you do call the pediatrician too much." That was 1 time. 17 times. Who's counting? The pediatrician's office, apparently. They sent a card. They laughed and it felt good, easy, natural. "Sophia?" "Yeah?" "I know this isn't how either of us planned our lives. Definitely not. But I'm glad. Glad that it was you, that night. If it had to happen, I'm glad it was you." She felt tears prick her eyes. Pregnancy hormones, she told herself, even though that excuse was long past its expiration date. "Me too," she whispered. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. They sat there, hands linked, watching the city sleep, while their babies slept, and something that started as a mistake began to feel like destiny. 6 months later, at the Triplets' first birthday party, a small affair, just family and close friends, Sophia watched Damien help Thomas smash his piece of cake while keeping Lily from eating the candles and stopping Rose from climbing out of her high chair. He had frosting in his hair. His shirt was destroyed. He was laughing. He's different, her mother said, coming to stand beside her. Who? Don't play. Your husband. He's different from before. You only met him at the wedding. I didn't need to meet him before to know he was cold. Closed off, now look at him. Sophia looked, really looked. Her mother was right. The man playing peekaboo with Rose while Thomas grabbed his nose wasn't the same man who'd proposed a business arrangement in her mother's apartment. The babies changed him, Sophia said. No, Mika, you changed him. The babies just gave him permission to be who he always was inside. That night, after everyone had gone home and the babies were asleep, Sophia found Damien cleaning up the disaster zone that was their living room. Leave it, she said. The cleaning service comes tomorrow. I don't mind. It was a good day. It was. Thomas is going to be a heartbreaker. Did you see him flirting with your cousin's daughter? He's 1 year old. Never too early to start. She laughed, helping him pick up toys. Sophia? Move in with me. She looked up, confused. I already live with you. No, I mean, move in with me. To my room. Our room. The playful atmosphere shifted, became charged. Damien, I know we agreed to separate rooms. I know this started as a business arrangement, but somewhere along the way it stopped being business for me. When? I don't know. Maybe when Thomas first grabbed my finger. Maybe when you laughed at me covered in spit-up. Maybe that first night when you asked if I was okay. He paused. Maybe I've been falling for you since the beginning and was just too scared to admit it. Scared? You don't get scared. I'm terrified every day. Terrified I'll fail them. Terrified I'll fail you. Terrified you'll realize you could do so much better than a man who doesn't know how to love properly. Damien, but I want to learn. With you, if you'll let me. She set down the toy she was holding, walked over to him, took his face in her hands. You love our children perfectly. But do I love you perfectly? I don't need perfect. I just need real. Then real is what you'll get. Messy, imperfect, trying my best real. That's all I want. He kissed her then. Not like that first night, desperate and lonely. This was soft. Sure. A promise. Is that a yes to moving into my room? It's a yes to trying, to seeing where this goes. I'll take it. They moved her things the next day. It felt strange at first, sharing a space after so long apart. But then Damien brought her coffee in bed, exactly how she liked it, and it felt like coming home. 2 years passed. The triplets grew from babies to toddlers, a tornado of energy and chaos. Damien learned to braid hair for the girls and build block towers for Thomas to destroy. Sophia went back to school online, working toward her teaching degree while the kids napped. You don't have to work, Damien reminded her. I want to. I need something that's mine. I understand that. And he did. He'd learned to understand a lot of things, like how she needed space sometimes, even from the kids, how she felt guilty for not being the perfect mother, how she still sometimes felt like she didn't belong in his world of charity galas and seven-figure deals. You belong wherever you are, he told her one night, after a particularly uncomfortable business dinner where someone had asked how they met, and she'd fumbled the lie they'd agreed on. I'm not good at pretending. Then don't. Tell them the truth. That I was your maid. That you were the woman who saved me from becoming my father. His father had died alone, Damien had told her, rich, successful, and completely alone. No one at his funeral except business associates and lawyers. That won't be you, Sophia promised. No, he agreed, watching Thomas try to teach his sisters to jump off the couch. It won't. On their 3rd wedding anniversary, the legal one, not the real one they'd decided to celebrate later, Damien surprised her. We're going away, he announced. We can't leave the kids. Already handled, your mother and a team of nannies. We're going away. Where? Somewhere with no cell service, no emails, and no one calling me about anything. They went to a cabin in the mountains, just the two of them. For the first time since the triplets were born, they were just Damien and Sophia, not mom and dad, not CEO and wife, just them. This is weird, Sophia said the first night. sitting by the fire. Good weird or bad weird? Good weird, quiet weird. I miss them already, he admitted. Me too. They looked at each other and laughed. We're pathetic, she said. Completely. But they didn't call home. They hiked, cooked together, talked about things that weren't feeding schedules or preschool applications. Do you ever think about that night? Damien asked one evening. The storm? Yeah. Sometimes. Do you regret it? How can I regret something that gave me them, that gave me you? You didn't have me. Not for a long time. But I have you now. Yes, he said, pulling her close. You have me now. What started as a mistake, a moment of weakness between two lonely people, had become something neither of them expected. Not a fairy tale, not perfect, but real. Messy, complicated, beautiful, real. I love you, he said against her hair. Not for the first time, but it still made her heart race. I love you too, even though I started out terribly. Especially because you started out terribly. It means you had room to grow. Did I grow? You became a man who sings off-key lullabies and wears a tutu for tea parties and once drove to 3 different stores at midnight to find the exact brand of crackers Rose wanted. She was so sad. She played you. She's 2.5. She doesn't know how to play people. She's your daughter. She was born knowing. He laughed. Fair point. When they got home, the triplets attacked them at the door. Mama, Daddy, we missed you so much, Thomas shouted. Grandma let us have ice cream for breakfast, Lily announced. Shh, Rose hissed. That was supposed to be secret. Sophia's mother shrugged. They're only young once. That night, all 5 of them piled into the master bed for story time. The triplets fought over who got to sit next to who. Damien did terrible voices for all the characters, and Sophia thought her heart might burst from happiness. This wasn't the life she'd planned. At 24, cleaning houses, she never imagined she'd be here. Married to a billionaire, mother to triplets, happy. But life has a way of giving you what you need, not what you think you want. Daddy, tell us the story of how you met Mama, Rose demanded. Damien and Sophia exchanged glances. Well, Damien started, it was a dark and stormy night. Like in a scary movie? Thomas asked, excited. No, buddy, like in a love story. Ew, all 3 kids said in unison. But they listened anyway as Damien told them a cleaned-up version of that night, how Mama had been kind when Daddy was sad, how sometimes people meet at exactly the right moment, even if it doesn't seem right at the time. And then you got married and had us, Lily concluded. Exactly. Were we planned? Rose asked, too smart for her own good. You were wished for, Sophia said, which was true, even if the wish came after the fact. After the kids finally fell asleep and were carried to their own beds, Damien and Sophia stood in the doorway of the nursery-turned-playroom, watching them sleep. We did good, he said. We did. Want to do it again? She looked at him, startled. Another baby? Why not? We're already outnumbered. What's one more? You're insane. Insane about you. That was terrible. But true. She leaned into him. Let's survive kindergarten first. Deal. A year later, she was pregnant again, just one this time, thank God. A boy they named Daniel. Damien was calmer this time around, only called the doctor 12 times instead of 50, only panicked slightly when she went into labor. You're improving, she told him. I'm experienced now. Daniel was born on a clear Tuesday morning. No storm, no drama, just a baby arriving exactly when he was supposed to. He's perfect, Damien whispered, holding his son. They all are. How did we get so lucky? I don't think it was luck. What was it then? Fate, destiny, God's sense of humor. Take your pick. I pick you, he said. Every time, I pick you. The triplets were obsessed with their baby brother. Thomas appointed himself protector. The girls competed over who could make him laugh first. We're never sleeping again, Sophia said one night, Daniel crying in the background. We haven't slept in 4 years. Good point. But they were happy, exhausted, overwhelmed, covered in various baby fluids, but happy. 5 years later, at Thomas, Lily, and Rose's kindergarten graduation, Sophia watched Damien cheer embarrassingly loud when each of them got their little diploma. Daniel, now a toddler, clapped because everyone else was clapping. "Remember when you couldn't even hold them?" she whispered. "I was terrified." And now? Still terrified, but better at hiding it. After the ceremony, as they were loading 4 kids into the car, a minivan, because even billionaires need minivans with 4 kids, Rose asked, "Daddy, why don't we have a wedding album like Susie's parents?" Damien and Sophia looked at each other. They'd never had a real wedding, just the courthouse signing. "Would you like one?" Damien asked. "Yes!" all 3 triplets shouted. That night, after the kids were asleep, Damien found Sophia looking at their courthouse wedding photo, the only one they had. "We should do it," he said. "Do what?" "Have a real wedding." "We're already married." "I know, but we should do it right this time, with flowers and a dress and our kids as the wedding party." "Damien Cross, are you proposing to me?" "Sophia Cross, I'm proposing we get married the way we should have the first time, with love, not obligation." She pretended to think about it. "Will there be cake?" "The biggest cake you've ever seen." "Then yes." They married again on their 5th legal anniversary. This time Sophia wore white. Who cared about tradition at this point? The triplets were flower girls and ring bearer. Daniel toddled down the aisle throwing petals at people's faces. Damien cried when he saw her walking down the aisle. Actually cried. "You okay?" she whispered when she reached him. "I'm perfect. You're perfect. This is perfect." The kids are about to start a fight over who holds the rings. Perfectly imperfect, then. They said their vows again, but this time they wrote their own. "Sophia," Damien began, "you asked me once if I was okay, and that simple question changed my life. You gave me 4 beautiful children, but more than that, you gave me a reason to be better, to be real, to be whole. I loved you before I knew what love was. I loved you when I was too scared to admit it, and I'll love you long after the kids are grown and it's just us again, God help us." Everyone laughed. "Damien," Sophia said, tears streaming down her face, "you started as my biggest mistake and became my greatest blessing. You went from a stranger to my husband, to my partner, to my best friend. You're not perfect. You still call the pediatrician too much, but you're perfect for me, for us, for this beautiful, chaotic life we built from one stormy night." They kissed and everyone cheered. Thomas made gagging noises until Lily elbowed him. At the reception, Damien's business associates mixed with Sophia's family from the old neighborhood. It shouldn't have worked, but it did, just like them. "No regrets?" Damien asked as they danced, kids running around their feet. "Only one." "What?" "We should have gotten the bigger cake." He laughed, spinning her around. "I love you, Sophia Cross." "I love you too, Damien Cross." The storm that brought them together was nothing compared to the whirlwind of their life now. 4 kids, 2 careers, 1 marriage that started as a transaction and became a love story. Not a fairy tale. Fairy tales were too neat, too simple. This was better. This was real. That night, as they tucked each child into bed, Thomas asked, "Are you going to have more babies?" "No," Sophia said quickly. "Maybe," Damien said at the same time. They looked at each other. "We'll discuss it," Sophia said diplomatically. "When you're older," Damien added. "Like next week?" Rose asked hopefully. "Like never," Sophia muttered. But as they stood in the hallway looking at their 4 sleeping children, she knew she wouldn't change a thing. Not the unexpected pregnancy, not the rushed marriage, not the sleepless nights or the chaos or the constant state of exhaustion. "Thank you," she said suddenly. "For what?" "For showing up at my door that day. For not letting me run. Thank you for opening the door, for taking a chance on me. We took a chance on each other." "Best gamble I ever made," he said, pulling her close. "Even better than the Kurosawa deal." The Kurosawa deal didn't give me 4 kids and a wife who keeps me human. The Kurosawa deal also didn't give you gray hair. You love my gray hair. I love you despite your gray hair. Same difference. They stood there in their beautiful, messy home, with toys scattered everywhere, and tiny handprints on every surface, and Sophia thought about that young woman cleaning houses, alone and struggling. She never could have imagined this. But the best things in life are often the things we never see coming. A storm, a moment of connection, an unexpected pregnancy, a business arrangement that became real love. "Come on," Damien said, leading her to their bedroom. "Early morning tomorrow. Thomas has soccer, the girls have dance, Daniel has that play date. Remember when we used to sleep in on Saturdays?" "No." "Me neither." They fell asleep holding hands, like they did every night now. No longer strangers, no longer just co-parents, but partners, lovers, best friends. The family that started with a mistake and became a miracle. And in the morning, when all 4 kids piled into their bed at 6 a.m. demanding pancakes, Sophia and Damien would look at each other over the chaos and smile, because this was their life, their beautiful, exhausting, perfect life. The billionaire CEO and the maid who saved each other that stormy night. The ending nobody expected, but exactly the one they needed. If you've made it to the end of this story, thank you for joining this emotional journey with us. Love often comes in the most unexpected ways, from the most unexpected places. Sometimes what starts as our biggest mistake becomes our greatest blessing. Have you ever experienced a love that transformed your life in ways you never expected? Share your story in the comments below. We read every single one, and your stories inspire ours. And if this story touched your heart, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Ring the notification bell so you never miss our next emotional story. We upload new heartwarming tales every week, each one crafted to remind you that love always finds a way, even when we least expect it. Until next time, remember, sometimes the best chapters of our lives start with the plot twists we never saw coming.